You're filling out that shirt just like JJ. All right, we start with a look at your top 12's number one team. It is the Saints, and they are also the top seed in the NFC.
Yeah, they are, and, I think they've deserved this spot. I know they didn't win in Week 17. They played different guys. I love that Teddy Bridgewater got to play as an aside.
That was cool.
But really, it's about the defense for me, Dan. This defense has been playing well for the better part of 2 months, and now they can balance it out with the offense and MJD. They got the home field.
Yeah, anytime you have to go down to the Bayou to play, it's going to be tough. Those people love to party, and they have a great home field advantage down there.
Last time they were the number one seed, they won the Super Bowl back in 2009. The Chiefs are Elliot's top team in the AFC at number 4.
Yeah, Kansas City, it's the same thing with them all year. If they score 34, they're great. But you're really looking for what the defense can do. Now, they had a nice game against the Raiders in Week 17. I know, there's the Raiders. But still, this is more of what you want to see. The Chiefs defense doesn't have to be great, MJD. Just needs to be viable because their offense can score.
You're exactly right. But listen, Patrick Mahomes can throw the ball in any weather, wind, snow, whatever you want. And for him to be able to whip the ball like that there is going to be tough for anybody to beat.
The Chiefs, by the way, last 4 times they've had a first-round bye, they have lost in the playoffs. Here's the full look at the top 12. And as you alluded to earlier, these are all playoff teams, not always the case.
That's right. And one team here, a lot of people think could be higher, the Seattle Seahawks. I've got them at 10, and that's a fair argument.
By the way, we have not talked about Tyler Lockett enough. He's been great this year.
Yes.
You love the Seahawks on the road in Dallas. Why is that?
I think the way they're playing offensive football and complementary football, running the ball, playing great defense, not turning the ball over, it travels well. And it kind of takes the air out of home field advantage for anyone. If you can sustain drives and continue to make plays, and Russell Wilson make these type of throws to Tyler Lockett and Doug Baldwin to continue to move the chains and score points, it's hard for another team to get reps and possessions to score.
Everything you're saying makes sense, only they're 6-2 at home and just 4-4 on the road. They're a different team on the road.
They started off 0-2 on the road to begin the year. So
fair enough. You're actually backing your boys here. You've done a little reversal.
I have. Last week on the show, I said Dallas hadn't faced a quarterback like Russell Wilson. Well, they had early in the year, and they lost. But as you pointed out, Dan, they are a different team, the Seahawks are, on the road. The Cowboys at home, their defense gets off to fast starts. They don't give you anything in the first quarter. And MJD, you talk about this a lot. When you play a good defense, it puts pressure on offense because now you're trying to score and you don't get as many possessions because Dallas runs the ball so well. Ezekiel Elliott, fresh legs. Led the league in rushing this year. Didn't even play in Week 17. And then lastly, Dak Prescott. Now, Dan, I know that some people question whether or not he should have played in the last game.
I was shocked that he played the whole game.
It was a risk.
You think that carries over, that momentum, though? I guess it paid off.
I think it did because they needed to see this, and I think he needed to see it from himself. He's always said, he wants to be able to win games playing without Zeke. Well, guess what? He was able to do that.
All right, in the AFC, it's the Colts and the Texans, 2 teams that know each other very well, 2 very good quarterbacks as well, which begs the question, who would you rather have, Andrew Luck or Deshaun Watson?
I'm going to go with the guy who's got the mural right behind my shoulder here, Andrew Luck. 5 years, first 5 years in the league, man, he was getting the Colts in the playoffs every year. This guy's got a lot of experience driving the bus for this team. I know the Colts have had some good parts over the years, but this is a very Andrew Luck-centric team. I think he belongs in the MVP conversation. I think he's going to win Comeback Player of the Year. And he is a good athlete. He can escape pressure. Maybe not as good an athlete as Deshaun Watson, but I'm trusting Andrew Luck in this one. And he's had a lot of success in Houston.
Well, yeah, no, he's had a ton of success in Houston, but I'll say this. Deshaun Watson is the guy that I think is the better quarterback in this situation because everything goes around him in Houston. If he runs the ball with design run plays. That opens up the running game with Lamar Miller, Alfred Blue, Foreman, all those guys. Then you get to throw the ball to DeAndre Hopkins, who has 115 receptions with 0 drops because this man's able to run. That means you have to keep your eyes on the quarterback all the time, open up holes in the back end.
You worried about that line?
But he
Colts
can
have a great offensive line.
He can run, though. And that's what makes it look. Andrew Luck runs to throw the ball. This guy runs to run the ball. He's like a running back there.
I don't know if that's better if you're running to run the ball. I always like a guy like Russell Wilson who's looking ready to throw at any time, right? Which is probably one of the reasons you like Russell Wilson, too. All right, how about 13 through 20 in the rankings? The Steelers there at 13, and then you have the Lions and Giants rounding out your top 20. Both teams up 2 spots.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to the Browns. I think they could beat any team on this board for sure. I love the way they finished the season 5-3.
And those Steelers made it 13 out of the playoffs and seemingly imploding. This is kind of crazy the way the season ended there with Antonio Brown. MJ, what on earth is going on?
Well, listen, a lot of these things have probably been happening for a long time, but you've been winning. So you've been able to sweep it under the rug, cover it up. But you sweep enough under the rug, it's going to come leaking out. And when it happens is when you don't make the playoffs, when you're not winning. So guys start getting upset. A lot of people say Antonio Brown is acting something different. No, he's been like this since he's been in the league. And that's why they love him, because he's a hard worker. He's a type A personality. Then you have Big Ben. You just have a lot of issues that they haven't been able to cover up.
There's been internal friction with Todd Haley. There's been internal friction with Martavis Bryant. There's been internal friction now with Antonio Brown. There's one common denominator with all those.
What is that?
The quarterback.
Oh, here we go. Time for our New Year's Power Party. A couple of facts about Elliot's list this year. Half the teams that Elliot had in his top 10 at the beginning of the season did not qualify for the playoffs.
Ouch.
The Cowboys started at 22 and finished at 11. The Seahawks close to dead last at 27th, and they finished the season at 10. So you couldn't get everything right. You got a lot
bungled
right.
that one.
You couldn't get everything right. How about some teams that didn't get much right this season? Biggest bust of the year, MJD.
Yeah, it has to be the Minnesota Vikings. 13-3. You get there with Case Keenum. You play in the NFC Championship game. You pay Kirk Cousins $84 million guaranteed, and you don't make the playoffs.
There's another.
That's tough, man.
Another team with a quarterback that has more guaranteed money than that, Elliot.
Yeah, it's funny on Twitter. I always hear how this guy's the greatest player in the history of pro football. Maybe the best player in all of sports ever. But, they said they needed to draft defensive help. They did in the secondary. Okay, he needed an all-pro tight end. They went and got Jimmy Graham, although...
Been a while since he's been an all-pro.
Right.
Just saying.
And you know what happens? The Packers have a losing record. They fire their head coach at midseason, and they're totally discombobulated all year.
Yeah, it wasn't right there. How about who rebounds on next year's list? Elliot.
I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. I debated the 49ers on this, but I'm going to go with Atlanta. When you lose star players in week one, it's the worst because you planned all offseason and preseason to have them there, and you didn't even get them for like 8 or 9 games before they got hurt. So week one, everyone's panicking. The Falcons were depleted. You know what? They finished a little bit stronger. I think they come back next year.
I'm going to go with the Jags. Anytime you have a top defense, and the way the Jags played the last 6 games, they played like a top defense, you have a chance. And they have to fix some pieces on offense. I think they address those this offseason, and they're back where they were last year.
How about your thoughts on the end of the Leonard Fournette era?
Yeah, that's tough for me. I've never been a big fan of taking money away from people that it says guarantee on it, but obviously the Jags did that. So,
how about who's going to be popping bottles when they reach Atlanta this year? MJD?
Oh, yeah. First of all, I got to go with my pockets, the Rams. Rams are going to be there.
Keep your
but
pockets
then
straight.
The AFC team will be the Ravens. But listen, let me tell you about these Rams. And I call their games all the time. They're catching their stride at the right time. They're getting healthy at the right time. One of the only teams who has all the guys who started in week one, except for one guy, Cooper Kupp, is still playing this on their team.
I think that's cool, but I'm going to stick with my preseason pick. I stood here in early September next to Dan wearing his Aspen cologne, and I said the Saints would beat the Patriots, and I was
here when you said that.
Yeah, I'm sticking with this, and I know New England hasn't been totally impressive.
You can make that same one for next year too.
Yeah.
You should do it again.
You're right.
Just recycle it.
It wasn't totally surprising, kind of like picking the Jags as a rebound team.
Recycle it.
But I didn't do that.
Let's go green.
Patriots win the Super Bowl, Dan.
All right, for the record, I don't wear cologne or Aspen cologne or any cologne. On fire! 2 weeks ago, the Ravens came here to LA and beat the Chargers. Now it's round 2, Sunday in Baltimore. Who would you rather have? Lamar Jackson, who's 6-1 as a starter in his career, or Phillip Rivers, who's won 122 games as a starter?
This is a tough question. I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson. I think he's energized this team, this organization, this city by the way he's playing. Joe Flacco was the guy. He gets hurt. Lamar comes in and then doesn't get the spot back, and he's able to make plays with his legs, and he's willing to sacrifice his body for the greater good of the team. I think you got to go with that.
I understand what you're saying a little bit, but the guy averages 159 passing yards per game. That's worse than the NFL.
But also like
Elliot.
200 rushing.
Yeah, but I agree with you there, Dan, but that's game script, too. I'm with MJD on this. He is tough for defenses to play. You're playing 11 on 11, not 11 on 10 when you play these guys. Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa are going to be crashing in aggressively from the end. He'll take it out of Gus Edwards' belly and go right around him. He could run for 100 yards in this.
If he has to throw, can he beat them?
I think he can.
Wow, in unison.
Jinx.
That surprised me. I thought experience meant something with Phillip Rivers, who, by the way, is top 10 all time in passing.
I love Phillip Rivers.
Oh, gosh, Lee. All right, you love him, but apparently not as much as you love Lamar Jackson. Eagles, Bears, this week's Balance of Power. Take it away, fellas.
Listen, Dan, Elliot, I've missed you guys, but I've missed Balance of Power more.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you. I'm going to let you see who I think is going to win this game. Let's start off right now. Quarterbacks.
Okay.
It has to be Nick Foles. It has to be. He's done this before.
He's done it before. I'll give you that. Okay.
He's been here before. We've seen this.
All right. He's played 3 games at the tail end of the season here. He's going up against the best defense he's faced maybe in his career this weekend. Okay. And Mitch Trubisky, by the way, has not been that bad. He's mobile, can throw on the run. I like Mitch Trubisky in this game.
You can't sell me on anything when you say he hasn't been that bad. That means he's been some kind of bad.
He hasn't
Nick
been bad.
Foles has been here before. I'm going to give this to the Eagles. Here it goes. They're right there. Running backs.
Tough matchup.
Let's
for
just
Nick
be
Foles.
honest.
He's backed up, too.
All right, that's fine. That's okay, but Nick Foles won it. I'm going to be with the Chicago Bears. I'm going to give the running backs to the Chicago Bears.
I'm with you on
Jordan
that.
Howard, Tariq Cohen, they're doing great. Now, this is why I gave the quarterback to the Eagles, because the wide receivers, tight ends, this goes to the Eagles again. Defense, it's the monsters of the Midway.
Yeah.
Let's just be. I'm not going to go against. You guys have a great defense. We're going to
get Eddie Jackson back
to the Bears. Oh, exactly. Yes. It's going to be tough. But coaching, they both come from the tree of Andy. Andy Reid, one of my dearest friends. We ate food together on Fast Food Friday. Phenomenal time. Talk football, ate junk food. But only one has a ring, and that's not Andy Reid. You know who has it?
What's the rule?
If you got a ring, you get the ding, and we're going to get this to the Eagles. And listen, I may be just a hater. I don't know. But I have a feeling that Philly is going to boat race the Bears at home. Because this is new territory. It's different. It's not the same. None of these guys have been in the playoffs. None of these guys have been in the playoffs. They don't understand. I don't know.
Reviewing now your top 12 teams as we head into the postseason.
Looks good to me. I agree with it.
Well, yeah, I'll bet you do. Yeah, you must really like this top 12. You know what I really like? I like MJD's playoff power rankings. He's coming up with his top 6 teams, and it looks a little weird. It does. And I'll tell you why. Because that number 2 team, the Baltimore Ravens, could have as easily been out of the playoffs as in the playoffs, and all of a sudden they're number 2 in your power rankings.
Well, it's because of their scheme. Their offensive scheme is tough. Lamar Jackson, and the way that defense is playing right now, they're finding ways to turn the ball over and give them extra possessions. I love my Rams. Saints are number 1. They're just number 1. Chiefs, but right here, Tom Brady and them, they're doing a phenomenal job. I just don't know if they have enough firepower after losing. Obviously, Josh Gordon. And then the Eagles. I just told you about the Eagles. They're going to beat the Bears.
I got to stop.
They're going to boat race them.
Hold on. I'm not mad at what you did right here, okay? But the Chargers have got to be in here. We already talked about the Bears. I'm going to go with the Chargers. Look, the Chargers may lose in Baltimore, but guess who else would lose in Baltimore this weekend? The Philadelphia Eagles.
They wouldn't play them in Baltimore this weekend.
But we're not talking about.
They're going to Chicago this weekend.
We're not talking about what their matchups are. It's who the best teams are on a neutral field. The Chargers are better than the Philadelphia Eagles are.
I'll tell you this much. I've talked to a lot of people around this league, and a lot of people are nervous about the Philadelphia Eagles.
I'll tell you this much. I want you to see Chargers, and I hope you're watching at home because it's completely disrespectful. This is MJD's playoff power rankings.
Oh, I love you, Gus Bradley.
Locks in absolute power. Ezekiel Elliott, 100 yards rushing and a TD. Is that correct?
You are correct, sir. I think he's got fresh legs going in this game. The Cowboys are going to need him. He's going to limit Seattle's offensive possessions. He's a game's leading rusher. He's a great player.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Andrew Luck. 350 yards, 3 TDs. The last time in Houston, 399 and 2 TDs. So you might as well take that to the bank.
Wow. Andrew Luck, by the way.
I love this.
3-3 in the playoffs. 9 touchdowns, 12 interceptions in his career.
I love this more than the Jags being the rebound team next year.
Oh, chill out,
yeah.
Man.
Wow.
When they rebound, though, make sure you have them at 27 so we can end up at like 2.
It is time for Elliot's closing arguments. It is your rankings rebuttal to Coach. Go.
Dear Coach Wright, I want to take this time to wish you a Happy New Year and defend my number 32 ranking you so ably waved about. Look, Andrew Luck hadn't thrown a meaningful pass in 2 years. You were a rookie head coach, and the team started 1-5. For the record, I applauded your guts in going for it on 4th and 1 in that loss to Houston. I even touted you as Coach of the Year. Now my esteemed colleague, MJD, who ran over the Colts a time or 3, says I deserve a ring if you guys win the Super Bowl for providing motivation. Now, I don't require such credit, and I pay for all my eBay items as soon as I win the auction. So I'm humble enough to say, thanks for proving me wrong. Good luck. Some Colts gear would be nice, though.